I'd like to call this meeting to order, this meeting of February 4th, 2019. And the first thing we need to consider is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which was November the 5th, 2018. I hope you've all had a chance to look at it and to see if there was anything that needed to be changed, and if not, to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor state aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, we are now going to consider the certificate of appropriateness for property located at 201 West Pilar Street, COA-2019-001.
Yes, Chairman, this is appears to be an ordinary maintenance, mainly agenda item with one exception, and that would be a roof. The applicant is requesting to make repairs to the siding, windows, doors, and then the item that is not ordinary maintenance would be to replace an existing shingle roof with a standing seam metal roof. You know, normally we have those on the PowerPoint for you, but they're the same images that are in your packet. And the applicant and applicant's representative are here, should you have any questions for them. This is the Ford, as most people refer to it as the Ford Studio, which is located just right over here. So Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And I see that Sherby is here with us, so are there any questions that need to be asked of the applicant?
I have some questions, yeah, not of staff.
Oh, okay. Sherby, would you approach the... Oh, the contractor. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't even thinking. Thank you, thank you. Go ahead.
So, based on what you have here, a large project to be sure.
Yes.
I'm just a little concerned about restorations versus remodeling.
Mhm.
Paint, I don't care about, but color, any color, multiple colors, I don't care. But I am concerned on the fixing of siding. Are you intending to keep the same wood siding, same type
Yes.
of wood siding?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about doors? Because it says possibly replacing doors. Are you
Yes.
planning on doing
At
that?
this time, we're just really gonna do the basic what she wanted was the roof right now, and then when we do the doors, we would do the wood doors that it has a kind of the same kind.
Okay, and then, because we have to look at the whole thing, so.
Yes.
Then windows, it says repair, which is always best, but
Mhm.
it says replace. So it's not clear, is it replacing with wood windows or vinyl windows?
No, it would be the same wood windows that they have there.
Okay, all right. And so that brings it down to the metal roof. Okay, all right, those were the questions I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my question was with the
I'm
metal.
sorry,
No,
go
say, my
ahead.
question was with the metal roofing. I simply don't know if that's something that's perfectly appropriate for what we're looking for. Are we trying to? Does it matter on the roofing? I know it's going to look different than the shingles. I simply don't know in terms of what we're being asked to do. If we're supposed to say, hey, that's not right, or that is cool. I don't know.
We do have precedents of several houses that are
On the National Register, not National Register, but the local overlays, in the overlays, that have gone with the metal roof. And my house is one of them.
Right.
So the answer to that question is yes, no, and sometimes. So yes, metal roofing is appropriate depending on the style of architecture and the period of construction. And this home was built, or this building was built around 1900, or at least the information we have says that it was built circa 1900 and is listed as a contributing structure in our historic district survey, the 1990 National Register nomination. I do not have any information that says that this had a wood shingle roof, an asphalt shingle roof, a standing metal roof, or corrugated metal roof. Oftentimes we have that information in files, but we don't have that on every building. So that's why I said the answer is yes, no, and sometimes. So it's appropriate on some buildings and it's not on others. In this case, staff doesn't have anything to guide you as to whether it is or is not appropriate for a 1900s home.
And my reason for wanting a metal roof was that we had bought our house in the 70s and had already replaced roofs 3 times. One time, I even special ordered lovely green octagonal of the period, very expensive shingles to try to be so authentic, and it didn't last well at all. So my reasoning was I can't afford another roof. I need a metal roof that will last, and I'm sure that that's many times behind people's choices.
Well, I'm always in favor of doing things that make sense. I just wanted to make sure that we were within what we usually do for that kind of thing. Obviously, they did probably, I say obviously, I'm assuming they didn't have metal roofs back then. But
Yes, they did.
oh, did they really?
Yes.
Okay, I had no
Metal
idea.
roofing was available
Right.
in Nacogdoches by 1900.
Okay.
But not necessarily a standing seam. That's
Okay.
more of
No.
a modern style.
That's more of a modern style, but
Right.
still.
The problem is the style of this building. This is very visible, and it's a large flat roof that's going to.
Actually, it's not as visible as you'd think because of the flatness of it. I've driven by several times
Mhm.
and craned my head, to try to see. And the nature of the roof, it doesn't glare at you, what it is. Even with these photographs, you can just sort of tell that there's, it's
We're gonna
it's
do that
not
porch right now,
like
and then
a
because
very
she's gonna have all the
peaked
fun, you have to
roof.
do it.
Mhm. Yeah. It's probably
But
only
I'm going
visible
for
if
everything
you are
so we can-
further up a street
Right.
where you're at higher elevation.
Mhm.
Can I ask another question of the applicant? I'm assuming the porch roof is in poor repair.
Yes,
Are you planning metal, because you said metal roof, are you planning metal on the porch or not?
yes, we wanted to do metal on all the roofings.
Okay.
But the worst of it right now is the porch areas that we need to get done.
Well, that's the first thing that needs to be repaired in any house, is the roof.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess that's my question for the rest of the committee is what do we, I'd like to be somewhat consistent and not arbitrary. If we've done this before with other people, we don't know if it was metal or if it whatever. It sounds like we don't really have a lot of justification for saying yay or nay.
Right.
Am I right on that?
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions for?
No, thank you so much.
I always try to remain neutral and just give you information, and so I will once again just give you more to puzzle over and not answer your question. But the old university building is a good example of a building that is older than this one, but was around in 1900, so it could have had a metal roof on it, just by time frame wise. But it would be inappropriate for that style of building. Most of the homes in the Zion Hill Historic District, which is the next item coming up on your agenda, are still fairly close, 1910, 1920s. The majority of those had metal roofs. And so a metal roof is an appropriate style on there. And so if somebody was to come before you and say, hey, I have an asphalt shingle roof and I want to put a metal roof on, the appropriate answer would be yes. So it's not every case. Simply because somebody has requested it before does not mean that it is always approved. And both of those were items that were requested in the past. OUB asked for a metal roof at one time and it was denied. And there have been houses in the Zion Hill District that have requested and it's been approved. So it all comes down to, is the style of the building appropriate for the style of the roof.
Is the, years ago, they called like a tin roof. Is that the same as the update version as a metal roof? Or, you know, homes of years, a lot of times where they say they have a tin roof on.
Right.
So is that, I said the old style of tin roof is the updated version of what now we call metal roofing?
It's more of a corrugated roof, so it's the
Okay.
one you see lots of little
Yeah, the
humps,
little ridge.
humps and rises.
Mhm.
That is the style that you refer to as an old tin roof, more so than the standing seam type roof. So the material's the same. It'd be like using an architectural shingle or a 3-tab shingle. They're both asphalt shingle. The material's the same, but the style is different.
The house on Virginia Avenue that won the award for that year, it has a standing seam metal roof. Not that that matters.
So does the addition of an asphalt shingle roof add to or take away from the historic value of the property? Same thing goes for a metal roof, in this case. So does the addition of a metal roof detract from the historic value or add to the historic value, or is it appropriate time-wise? So we've already talked about a metal roof is appropriate for 1900s in Nacogdoches. Right.
I
Dr.
don't
Bison,
feel
you have
it's-
something to say.
Oh, I don't feel it style-wise.
Okay.
That's where I'm coming down, so.
So style-wise, you feel like this house would never have had a corrugated metal roof?
No.
Okay. Were they using asphalt shingle roofs at the time?
No, they're using wood.
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 Cedar shake.
Okay, shoot.
Which we certainly would have
No.
made somebody go back to.
No.
They're prohibited.
So
In fact,
we're-
it's not allowed even.
No.
Oh,
And
very
indeed, it's not
flammable.
allowed,
Very
so.
flammable.
So we can't actually use what
No,
is historic.
No, we can't.
We can't.
So anything we do is actually a change from
Exactly.
historic record.
And anything that we could do to preserve this house. And
Yes.
this was at one time a hotel. And anything that we could do to give it a little more life,
Mhm.
I
Which it
think we
certainly
should.
needs.
I hear an argument in favor of a steel roof, is what I'm
I-
hearing. Well, it sounds like to me, I'm just processing this myself out loud, because that's the only way we're allowed to process it here is out loud in this meeting.
Right.
So I'm slow learner.
Good point.
I'm a very slow
Good
learner,
point.
but I do
Yes.
learn. So it seems like since we're not allowed to go to a wood shingle roof, which was probably, no matter where you go, you've stepped outside of historical accuracy.
Absolutely. And that is the quandary.
So I see no reason to burden, although the steel roof, as I understand, is more expensive than asphalt shingle roof, but it's more of a
longer
once and
lasting.
done,
Mhm.
for at least for a long time.
And I still say that it will not be as obvious on this structure as it was on the house on Virginia Avenue because of the structure of the roof.
And I would agree with you on
Anyway,
Okay,
okay.
that answers my question.
Do I hear a motion for the COA?
Well, I move that we accept COA 2019-001 as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second? I'll second it. All in favor, state aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, state nay, please.
Nay.
Thank you. All righty.
All right, I'm gonna try one more time to get these working. And it's not Okay. All right, we will move on to agenda item 4, COA 2019-002. This is for technically 2 properties, and it's 816 Ernest, and then there's also an abandoned structure that she owns, and so there are several projects she's wanting to do. She was approved for several items under COA 2017-007. And so some of these are changed to that a little bit. What the applicant is wanting to do, and the applicant is here. She was approved for an 8x8 deck on the east side of the property, and she would like to enlarge that to an 8x14, so nothing too drastic there. She is requesting to extend a fence about 135 feet by 87 feet to enclose the vacant structure at 824 Ernest. So that's just on the east side there. And remove shingle siding and replace with horizontal wood siding, and replace the metal roof with shingles. So sort of the opposite of what we just talked about. So you'll be able to think about that. And then for the fence, the applicant would like the fence to be metal T-posts and hog wire, but will use wood posts if required by the committee. And I would like to point out that we had requested more information from the applicant prior to the meeting, and we did not receive it. So if there are questions that you have of her about any of this, you can ask her. Okay, thank you. She did give me an aerial today showing, again, these are the city streets. So this is not public, this is hers. And so she's wanting to enclose it so that people can't drive through there. So it is a safety issue. And this is in Zionsville.
Right, right.
So,
Oh, so
this direction.
So this go this way. Oh,
Yeah.
that's not at all. I was.
So the fence would be this way.
Oh, that way?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
whoops, I was wrong.
Yep.
That way.
Okay, so
Oh,
between
no.
these two.
Mm-hmm. So around.
Encircle it.
Does that say 818?
It says 8.
This is 816.
Okay,
So that's
all
the
right. I'm
house.
seeing up here, but that's two
Yep.
streets. Okay.
Yep.
Which is the
I was-
house,
yeah, I
that's
was
the
seeing
abandoned
that.
house?
Yes.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And there is a map in your packet.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
going between the two can be difficult.
Right. Oh, I see, yes.
So the idea is to end the traffic going between the two houses toward the cemetery?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On that makeshift road that has appeared.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just keeping going through, right through the,
Oh.
gotcha.
Right.
Okay, I've actually driven down that road several times. No, not between the houses. Not between the houses. Between the two streets.
Right.
On the actual street.
Yes.
On the public road.
On the public street.
Yes.
Not.
Good to know, good to know.
Wow, that came out bad.
Okay.
All right,
Because-
questions, please.
I have a question for staff before the.
Yes,
I
please.
was not on, I was taking a hiatus, so I was not on the 2017, application. I was a little confused with the previous fence application, which was for a smaller diameter. What material was that approved for to
This,
make it?
the same,
The wood or the T-post?
T-posts,
Okay.
actually, I don't want to, wood posts? Wood posts.
Okay, I was a little confused. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. That's, all right, I want to double check that. Okay. No, I have questions for applicant.
All right.
Okay?
You wanna go?
Hello.
Well, here I have two measurements, so I feel like I need to know which one you want, 8x14 or 8x12.
For the what,
Well, it says for this deck, it was
Oh,
originally
okay.
approved for 8x8, But then we have two different measurements here.
Whatever, I was wanting one, and if you don't approve that one, would it be like a smaller one that you would approve of? Because y'all did the 8x8, and I was going for the 8x14. If you don't want it so long, can I do an 8x12 at least?
Okay.
Yeah, so it was up to whatever the committee or the historical would allow. Since I was already approved an 8x8, I wanted to do it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And where was that deck going to be going? I don't see
On the
that.
east side of the house.
Of 816?
Yeah, 816, Ernest Alley.
There is a flat spot that was a former residence that's been gone for years.
Oh,
That was immediately adjacent to 816. And so the current property owner owns both of those, and there was a pool and a deck approved in that flat spot, which is the former foundation of another home.
Okay. Okay.
So it's set back from the roadway.
Okay.
10+ feet,
Yes.
and off to the east of the existing building.
Okay.
Okay. All righty.
So would this more fully cover that previous foundation and pool area?
No,
Your
just to have
8x14.
just have more of a porch area to hang out with, and more for me and my dogs.
Okay.
And when family comes and visits.
Yes. All right. Shingle roof, I'm assuming not wood shingle, so.
No.
Okay. And going on the property line, okay. And you really are at the end of the road there.
Right.
Yes,
So,
and
it's
nobody's
really
down there, and all that's
extending
mine,
past the
yes.
road. Okay.
it's a very large fence.
Yes. Well, the original one y'all approved of, I thought it was gonna be big enough for me and the dogs, and my dogs are trying to get out because they think it's not big enough. And I just thought maybe we just surround the house also, so nobody else, because I've been seeing a couple of people, they'll go through that back of the abandoned house, through the cemetery, and I kinda wanna close it off, because they keep going through there, and then they'll go and people that don't have a house, they break in that one, or they're breaking the other ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't want them to be like even more destruction than what it is right now.
Right.
Completely understand.
Yes, and we've tried to close it off, but we went by there the other day and we seen that somebody had pried it open. I guess people have been staying in there again.
Okay.
All right, those were just the clarifications that I had.
Any other questions? All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Or do y'all need to discuss?
Do we need to discuss anything?
Well, I'll make one discussion that we're not touching paint color, but.
And we're not gonna talk about paint color?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll see if I can get it straight here.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the following selections, since we had a variety pack of options here
Alright.
in this, for the 816, 824 COA 2019-002, that we approve an 8x14 deck rather than the original 8x8. We approve shingles. This houses could have had either kind. We approve the extended fence, however, with wood posts, not T-posts, paint color, whatever. So I think those were the critical pieces.
That sounds good. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor state aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All righty, and discuss the nominees for 2018.
We actually have another item on there,
Oh, that's
Chairman.
right.
Um,
Agenda number 5.
Which I was
Yes.
about to go to that one, and then Hannah reminded me of the same thing. So you and I are on the same page. We're just skipping over things. But yes, actually, Commissioner Beisel, or Dr. Beisel, had requested that we have an item on here for you to consider or discuss And so I will just turn it over to her.
I'll pass this down, you all got a partial scan of it. I would like us to consider, though we are on a shorter time frame since it's already February and Preservation Month is May, but I would like to have the commission consider either starting, even if it can't be finished in time, but consider producing something to better educate our citizens as well as tourists coming through. This is an example from, I'm going to butcher it, Waxahachie, of what they produced for their town, and for us to consider either doing this or something completely different. But I thought it was a really neat way to encourage historic preservation, perhaps get the word out on, styles and what the different approaches are, types of things we come with, yet something fun for the K through 6th grade
I think
students.
this is
So
brilliant.
I saw that and requested a copy. And
I
just thought that
have
might
a
be
couple
something
of
for us to do.
examples of, from New Orleans.
Mhm.
And they're coloring books, and they talk about the architecture, and they have, well-known
Mhm.
houses. And I've always thought that something like that would be fantastic.
I think it's something that we can do, and it'd be great to have a print. Obviously, that costs some more money, but we can also be able, look at ways to do it, and or just a purely digital version that can be provided as well. So, I think that's what I get on the agenda is me saying I think it would be really neat if this commission does something that's a bit more outreach
Yes.
beyond the monthly hearings.
Educational, yes.
I've often felt that that's what we should be doing. Yes. Those of you who are out there, it's a coloring book of
Waxahachie houses. I think that's a great idea.
So, an activity book. with-
Yes, activity book, yes.
But,
And I've always liked the way Waxahachie has signs that the house owners own that
Mhm.
say, when that particular house was built. I always thought that was a good idea too.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and so what would be the process for that book?
Process, I'd be happy to, if you all said go forth and start putting something together, I would.
Go forth and start putting something together.
Yes. And then bring it, have it placed on the agenda.
Sounds like
to
a plan
present
to
it.
me. Wonderful.
Now we can move on to the item that you and I were trying to get to.
Yes.
So it's discuss a historic preservation award for 2018. We typically award this in May. We've been doing it for several years now, and we've only skipped one year where the committee decided there weren't any worthy applicants. And worthy applicants meaning according to the criteria that a previous HLPC came up with. Just to remind you, it has to be within city limits. The work has to be done with your approval. So there's a lot of ordinary maintenance items that go on that are not approved. The committee decided that that would not be an award-winning type project if it's simply ordinary maintenance. So it has to be reviewed, must be completed within the last 2 years, because we've run into several occasions where there are 2 buildings that were completed in the same year. The Anderson's properties down in Zion Hill District were fantastic examples of historic preservation done very, very well. Unfortunately, they went up against some properties that were like the Fredonia Hotel. I mean,
Right.
it's kind of hard to argue with that. The property must be under historic overlay. The project must show exceptional merit in the field of historic preservation. And the project must be construction, preservation, or restoration. Things such as regular maintenance, like I mentioned, are not eligible. When we, all of us, created this a number of years ago, I believe it was 2012, 11 or 12. I think 2011 was the first award, which we did in 2012. That's why I always get them confused. We set it up so that there's not a time limit. So if you're the Ford studio, If they applied today, they may not complete the work for 5 years.
Right.
So staff have to keep track of all of those projects and when they're completed. And so what we try to do every year is go back and look at all projects that were done within the last 5 years. That's kind of our target. And then we go, oh, yeah, that one's done, that one received the award. So far, Hannah and I have not found any that would be eligible for this year. And I bring up that 2-year time frame. You can change these whenever you want. This is your award. You get to kind of set the criteria. But properties like the Andersons' homes down in Zion Hill District are no longer eligible because they've been completed more than 2 years ago. So we wanted to put this on here for your feedback. Keep driving on the way it is. Here are some suggestions from you to staff or whatever guidance you may want to give us. Chairman?
Okay. So what are our suggestions?
Well, I guess I would rather have the problem that we have so many good things going on, but not everybody gets an award, no matter how deserving they are.
That sounds good.
I think going back, because we suddenly have a year where just due to timing, nothing's up.
Right.
It starts to create a lot of wiggle room of precedence. And I'm not speaking about the quality of projects or not. I do know the ones that he's speaking about, and they were excellent. But I guess I'm kind of a stickler. We have to have some kind of rule and framework. Otherwise, we go back 30 years. Was that appropriate work? Well, we judge by it today. So I'm fine with sticking with it, and we don't have an awardee.
If we don't,
Fine, we don't. But I don't know.
I'm with you. I feel like that it would be nice to have a plethora of choices, but if we don't, we don't.
We will do whatever it is you guys to do. And I didn't realize that I actually had a list right here in front of me. It was 2009, so I was off by a couple of years. And there have been 4 previous people who missed out on awards. So this not, Anderson was the most recent one. That's why that one stuck in my head, because I remember that meeting and there was a lot of debate. It was kind of a divided room between how do you
Right.
award when you have
That
3
was
projects
hard.
that are, but we've had a property on Mound Street, Post Oak Road, Richardson, and Pecan. So there are 4 people who never got the award, even though they were considered 2 years in a row,
Because we just had,
because there were other projects
Right.
that came up.
Yes.
the committee could consider, on years like that, saying, hey, you guys get an honorable mention ribbon sticker.
Really?
And we do send them a nice letter.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Mike?
I don't know, I hadn't thought about, I didn't realize, I assumed we'd have a couple of things here. I didn't realize we were gonna have no one that had it completed in the last 2 years.
Well, you still have time,
Right.
because we make this award in May.
Yeah.
So we're a
So
little,
somebody could come through and
I'm
finish
not,
it up.
I'm not aware of any that are pending, they're
Right.
almost done, we'll just get them across the finish line type thing.
See, why we need to educate and get more people.
Exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I guess then we
Cool.
are done.
Well, we will keep watching and see if there's anything else that comes through and make sure and bring it back to you if there is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Sounds good. Thank you all for attending.
That's the other cartoon? That's all.
That's all, folks. That's all she wrote.
Do you know, in this area on which is sunny and all these